All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am up here at, it's now Dark Side MMA, formerly the Renegade. It's like an old, one of those old black clubs, like Club, Club Hush, formerly Club Shazam or something like that.
Yeah.
It's Cornbread, Michael Allen, newly married. How's the, there you go. Ladies, he's off the market. He's been off the market for a while. Calm down. They're all coming up here flocking. Congratulations on that. I was up there.
Thank you.
And a dance.
Yeah, it's a good time. Good time with a lot of good friends.
Absolutely. You're going to have a good time coming up on Saturday. It's going to be Fight Lab out there at Fort Bragg fighting in front of the troops once again. You guys went away from, I believe, last year, but now you're going back and supporting the troops. A really good thing you guys always do.
Yeah. It's going to be a good time. Fight Lab 37. 37th show. We just keep trucking along and getting better and better. And we've been trying to get in Fort Bragg for a while now. And it means a lot to be able to go there in front of the 82nd Airborne and put on a show and also be able to showcase some of their guys outside of the Army combatives.
Yeah, because you got a couple of guys we'll talk about later on, about a couple of guys who train down there in Fort Bragg and actually are soldiers down there, and we salute their service. But it's going to be a totally different ball game, just like you said. It's not the combatives tournament. This is full-on MMA.
Yeah.
They're going to be wearing shorts.
Yeah.
It's going to be hot more than likely. I don't know. It's hot in here right now.
Yeah, it's hot down there, period.
Yeah, but it's a great thing. You guys went to a couple of Air Force bases and in the past, but it's always a great thing to see.
Yeah, we're excited.
You ready to make these predictions?
It's
been a while. It's been a while between
I've been doing good, man. I've finally started to get some friends, and people started to
took a nosedive. I said, I don't want to talk to this fool anymore. I said, I'm done with this.
So I guess we'll get the hatred warmed back up for Fight Lab July 26th here in Charlotte by starting it back up here for the Fort Bragg
so on
show.
and so forth. It's going to be a whole months full of hate.
You know those guys have guns down at Fort Bragg, right?
Well,
and you're asking me to pick against some of them, and that's
it's just target practice for those guys.
Since I haven't done it in a while, how many mulligans did I get?
Jeez. Well, this is a short show.
There's 12 fights.
I'll give you 2.
2 mulligans. Awesome. I like it. I got a lot of guys on here I like, so I'm going to use them.
I like a lot of them. You ready to do this? Remember, folks, it's a competition, not an exhibition, so wagering is encouraged for this. You got Nick Young going against Jerrell Nelson. Nick Young, I believe, was voted by me or the fans of Carolina Warrior TV as the best abs in North and South Carolina in MMA.
Really?
Yes. Have you seen those things?
No, he took Mr. Ab's spot.
He did. Yeah.
Oh man, he must have some magnificent abs.
He does.
From what I understand, though, he's also a magnificent fighter. And his opponent, Jerrell Nelson, stationed at Fort Bragg, comes from Hop Gar's Kung Fu, the same school that William Brown is from, but he also cross-trains with Team Rock. So, Nick Young's going to have his work cut out for him. I'm not very familiar with either one of these guys. I have watched video on both of them, and it's going to be a competitive fight. Nick Young training out of Evolution down there for Larry Kidd, and Chris Jones and Cliff Thompson. Those guys, I'm going to have to go with Nick Young with the abs. I think the abs is what's going to push him over.
It's pretty much a big factor nowadays, especially in MMA.
That's how I know I couldn't win a fight now, because I have no abs.
Woo! All that beer you had. Grant Shannon going against Elam Rivera.
Oh, man.
You got Shannon coming at 3-1. You got Elam Rivera, who's making his return to the cage. I think he had like a 1.5, 2-year absence.
Yes.
He's at 4-0. He had won a title up here at Freedom Fighter. What do you think about this?
Elam Rivera is one of the more hyped up fighters that I've never seen face to face. Usually I've pretty much got my hand on all the talent in the region. I've heard tons and tons and tons of these horror stories about Elam Rivera. I heard he beat up King Kong one time. I heard he could walk through fire. I heard he could put swords down his throat, pull them out, and just a lot of tough talk about Elam Rivera. But when you look at his record, he's obviously backed it up. 4-0, title at Freedom Fighter. Standing and by the way, he knows Al Simmons.
Oh, that's even worse.
He knows Al Simmons.
That's more of an X on your bio than anything.
He has the coolest team name I've ever heard of, the Pit of Hades.
I heard that.
Yes. So he's got a really cool team name. He knows Al Spawn Simmons. So he's bound to know what he's doing. He's undefeated 4-0. That right there speaks for itself. He's a very big lightweight. Just from looking at the pictures of him, a lot of muscle development there. On the other side of the cage is going to be Grant Shannon. I've personally witnessed Grant fight up in Virginia. under full rules. He's 3-1. Now, the one thing everyone needs to understand about this Army guys is they may show as 3-0 or 3-1 or whatever their record shows on mixedmartialarts.com under sanctioned fights. A lot of their experience inside the cage coming from advanced Army combatives, which Grant is in the advanced Army combative system, means they have a lot more cage experience than what they may show on their record. So, you know, it's going to be tough, man. I know Grant is a very, very good wrestler and is tough on the ground. From what I've seen of Elam, he likes to bang. I'm gonna have to go against my heart on this one, and I'm gonna have to give Elam his 5th victory, in my opinion. I think he's gonna win this one.
And again, just like Brett was saying, these results and records are coming from mixedmartialarts.com. Some of them they don't update. Virginia, a lot of Virginia fights aren't on here, especially for amateurs.
And none of the Army combatives.
Yeah.
So
there you go. Moving on, with 9-5 William Brown takes on 2-3 Caleb Busey. Who do you got in this one?
You know, William Brown, Sergeant William Brown, he's fought for us so many times at Fort Bragg. He's got to be up there with Kevin Ferrant and with Keith Richardson as far as how many times he's actually fought for us, especially for an amateur. And it's always a joy to have him on. He's got a special place in my heart. I really love the Army guys and those guys are stationed down there for what they do for our country. Very physically strong young man. Comes from a kung fu background, a little bit unorthodox with his striking. Sometimes it works against him, but I've seen it work for him. Caleb Busey, here from Charlotte, he's walking into the Lion's Den, man. I mean, that's, you know, taking on a guy from the 82nd on Fort Bragg, that's no easy task, but we've watched him improve over and over and over. Man, I'm really hard pressed on this one, but if I had to pick a winner, I'm gonna have to go with the experience of William Brown.
Okay. Let me break it off just 1 second. I got a question as far as the home cooking, the home court advantage, especially coming to these fights. How crucial it is to, if you know, up here in Charlotte, down there in Fort Bragg. I'm pretty sure those guys would be screaming for there. How much does that play a factor?
It really depends. I mean, you take a guy like Caleb Busey, just using this fight as an example. He's 2-3, and the majority of his fights have been with Fight Lab here in his hometown. Then you take a guy like, for example, Tony Rogers. There's never a show up in Asheville, and Tony Rogers, he's got 18 fights. He's been coming to Charlotte and fighting the likes of Nick Smith. So, and we all know when Nick Smith was active in Fight Lab, that is as hostile an environment as you could get having to fight him in Charlotte. So it really depends on the opponent. I've never been to Fort Bragg for an MMA fight, but with the culture, the MMA that is in fighting combat. I mean, the 82nd Airborne. That's one of our fighting divisions in our military, and every one of their guys down there, to some degree, do a form of mixed martial arts. And all the guys on this card, they do advanced Army combatives. I think there's 50,000-60,000 Army people stationed on base. To me, I would have to assume that is going to be as hostile an environment as you can walk into, and the guys on the blue side of the cage, whether it's Caleb Busey, who has only 5 MMA fights and has never fought outside of Charlotte, or whether it's Tony Rogers, who's used to coming to a hostile environment, I would have to think, I don't think you could get any more hostile unless you was playing football in Denver, you know, against the Broncos. I just can't see it getting any worse than that. But we'll see this weekend. We'll see how both sides perform.
Especially sleeping in your own bed at night.
Yeah.
We come in. You got Marcus Flood at 4-3 taking on Johnny Smith at 1-1. This experience again went out on this one, you think?
This is funny. This is a grudge match. Actually, it's not funny because it's a grudge match. I mean, this could probably get a little brutal. Johnny Smith has fought for us one time before. When he did, he was part of Marshall's MMA. Marcus Flood, no stranger to the Fight Lab cage, no stranger, as you said. He's 4-3. He obviously has a more advanced record than Johnny, but he's from Marshall's MMA, and this fight totally came about out of Johnny leaving Marshall's and his coach William Baptiste, who actually was a main staple at Marshall's. So we're getting to see the first, possibly of many Marshall students versus former Marshall students, and you know, Johnny looked really tough when he came up here and he fought against Brad Geyer at 170. He's obviously bigger than Marcus. But I I don't see it. You know, unless he has improved dramatically, I just don't see him beating Marcus Flood, who was as recent as the last Fight Lab. He was a title contender, so I'm gonna have to go for Marcus Flood on this one.
Yeah. You got Francisco Mercado Jr. We haven't seen. He's at 3-0 right now versus as veteran as you can get in the amateur ranks. Adam Ronzek, he's a title holder in plenty of these fights around the Carolinas.
Yep.
He's at 19-27.
A lot of fights.
Yeah.
A lot of fights. And now, believe it or not, the experience difference is not that great here. Frank Mercado shows is 3-0. He's an advanced Army Combatives finalist, I think 3 or 4 times over. Very, very skilled Greco-Roman wrestler for the Army Greco team. This guy knows what he's doing. He's a dangerous individual. However, James Ronzek is the only man I know who has an upside-down record that I consider dangerous. Yeah. We've seen him beat Brandon Bouchard. We've seen him beat Derek Hyatt. We've seen him beat some people that I didn't think he had a chance against, and he went in there and he won. We've also seen him get knocked completely into next year. I don't know. I really don't know, and I love James to death. He's a martial arts instructor. He's very seasoned. Mercado's Greco-Roman is very tough. With the rule sets, unless Mercado's jiu-jitsu is just very bad, which I can't imagine him training with Team Rocket it is, I don't see Ronzek getting out of this one without getting caught at some point. Sure. But we'll see. But
stranger things have happened.
Stranger things have happened. I'm going to put my money on Mercado.
There you go. No mulligans so far now, folks.
And I keep wanting to use the mulligans, but I know how you are, Chaz. If I use them, you talk bad about me online, so I'm not using them.
You just got to do it. You got 2 newbies. It looks like inside the cage. You got 0 and 1. Matthew Tipton going against Joshua. I'm going to mispronounce your name. That's not because Debora. Thank you very much. He looks like a fresh guy with no record out there. Untarnished virgin.
Yep.
He's going to be touched Saturday night.
He's going to get touched. He's going to get touched. Debora is a very high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, from what I've heard. I have gotten a chance to witness him training. Seems like a very talented guy on the ground. And he's from Team Rock, 82nd Airborne. He's going to be in shape. Coleman Tipton, first fight was here for Fight Lab, and he fought one of my guys, Mike Williams, who we'll talk about later on, but we'll just say he's a very accomplished athlete. And Coleman came up on the short end of that stick, a little bit of controversy to it. Coleman coming from Full Circle MMA, we know he's going to swing. We know he's going to kick, we know he's going to swing. We know that the kid is very physically strong. I'm going to put my money on Tipton redeeming himself. I'm going to go against what everyone's telling me, and I think Tipton's going to walk in there and shock the 82nd faithful. So I'm going to go Full Circle on this.
Do you have bodyguards?
Well, I was hoping you would come.
And protect you. And protect you. You might want to rethink that strategy.
That's not happening?
No.
Oh, man. I'll have Wonder Bread with me. Sacrifice my son.
Yeah.
Is that not dirty?
Hey, yeah.
That's about as low as it gets, isn't it?
You're firstborn. Go out there and stuff. So the United States Army.
United States Army.
Yeah,
that's right.
You're crazy. You got Mike Williams, you're alluding to at 1-0 versus Jordan Wilson, another guy who's had a couple of fights inside the cage, I believe the Fight Lab cage. How do you see this one panning out?
Jordan Wilson's a very good athlete.
Yeah.
Very, very, very good athlete. He's the Superman Punch King. Watch some videos of him fighting, obviously, because he's fighting one of my guys. Trains with William Baptiste and Johnny Smith. Does his jiu-jitsu, from what I'm understanding, up at Triangle Jiu-Jitsu in Team Rock. 6'2" at 170 pounds, and he looks to be pretty ripped up for a 6'2" guy, from what I've seen. So he looks like he would pose a problem for anyone. On the other side of the cage, he might as well be walking in and fighting somebody from Fort Bragg, because on the other end of the cage is going to be UNC Pembroke's 2-time national wrestling champion.
Right there.
4-time All-American. Without a doubt, the best athlete I've ever seen get into the cage, or at least top 3. I mean, when you say explosive and athletic, you don't get any better than Mike Williams. I just can't imagine very many amateurs being able to handle Mike at this stage, and especially with only 2 fights in their name. So I'm going to put my money on Mike.
Okay, yeah, good enough, because now we're starting to get into the shiny stuff, part of the
Title fights.
Title fights, baby. You got 3-0 Anthony Wright coming in against Trey Singleton at 6-2. This one, it looks like it's going to have all the makings of all the fireworks that you want to have a fight that fight.
Yeah. I'm going to keep this short.
Okay.
Trey Singleton is trained here with us at the dark side, and when he's in school in Charlotte, he spends most of his time here. Now he's in summer break. He's down at his home school for Marshall's MMA, but I'm going to keep this as short and sweet as I can. Trey Singleton walked into the Fight Lab cage, I think it was about a year and a half ago, and he was 18 years old. On his birthday was his first MMA fight. And when he walked down to the cage, I said, my God, what have I done? I said, I'm about to get a kid killed. 8 fights later, he's our champ, and he has literally lit up everyone he's fought. Anthony Wright, I hear a lot of good things about him. I've watched him fight. He's a tough young man. Again, 82nd Airborne, great cardio, great ground, strong wrestling, but at the end of the day, I'm going to have to see it to believe it, to think that there's a 35 or 45 pound champ out there, or anybody that can beat Trey Singleton. With that being said, Trey is our 35 pound champ, technically. Our 45 pound champ, Matt Probin, relocated back to England. He's back now. While he was gone, Trey, because he missed weight on his last title defense, we sort of morphed his belt into the 45 pound belt. So provided that Trey comes out the champion again and unhurt, July 26th, we'll be having Matt Probin from Rikon versus Trey Singleton. And that is a fight I'm sure everyone in the Charlotte area is looking forward to. If not, and Anthony Wright wins, then I'll be discussing with Anthony Wright about coming up here and facing Matt Probin. So a lot of things. This fight is going to be very important to our promotion, so we can clean up this cluster that Kenny Letts caused.
Again, you're the matchmaker.
I know.
Not blaming stuff on Kenny Letts.
But he's the owner. He's the primary owner. So when bad things happen, it's Kenny's fault.
I was going to say, you delegate down to your people, and I think matchmaker, that's all right. That's fine. Because we're moving on to Jesse Herzog. He's at 5-1 versus Tony Rogers. Tony Rogers picked up the belt a couple of months ago with Freedom Fighter. Now he's picking up more shiny stuff. I think he's just greedy as hell, but that's fine.
Hey man, this is another example of what we was just talking about with Trey Singleton. Tony Rogers' first fight in our cage, I think maybe 3-4 years ago, of the Epicenter. Yeah, he was 18. He's 12-6 now, and you know, I hear a lot of people downplay Tony Rogers' skills and say that, you know, well, he's got 6 losses. What they don't understand is you're talking about 6 losses. Yeah, against Nick Smith, against Tommy DiBernardo. You know, the guys that, number one, was much bigger than him at the time, older than him at the time, and had already developed their man strength. And if you'll notice, when he lost those 6 fights, everyone, Sean Dillon, who's now a jiu-jitsu instructor down at the American Top Team, he lost to him. I think that was his first fight in the cage. Everyone that he fought, there's one thing that we said: he punched them in the eye, and then they didn't want to stand no more. And now his ground game has obviously caught up with his striking. That is a scary young man. I mean, he's got 18 fights experience under his belt, and he's not even 22 years old yet. On the other side, Jesse Herzog, the Lethal Weapon X, absolutely 110% my favorite fighter outside of my own guys. I love Jesse to death. I talk to him all the time. I've talked to his wife. I've met his kids. I love him. He's a special place in my heart, you know, and he's one of those guys. Guys like him are the reason that, you know, when we go to these military bases, I get excited because, you know, not going too deep into it, but in my heart, in my mind, you know, I'm looking at them and I'm saying, you know, you never know when they're going to get called off to duty, and you never know if they're going to come back. And that's something, you know, that's an emotional moment for me in the cage when I see those guys step in there, put it on the line, and then I think about what they do for us. And Jesse, you know, he really represents what you know, the 82nd and just the Army Combatives program is. I love both these guys. I mean, I really don't know, and I'm going to use my money.
Absolutely. I'm not going to give you any help for that one because I
can't do it.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
Seeing Tony come up and seeing how much of a gentleman
Oh yeah,
Jesse
absolutely.
is, and,
both of them, and it's going to be a hell of a fight.
Yeah.
I tell you what, in my opinion, right now in the scope of MMA in the region in Carolinas, Georgia, I honestly feel that our champion and our #1 contender are two of the top 3 55-pounders. Period. End of story. I'll put them against anybody as an amateur right now.
The only pro fight you have on the card on Saturday is the Ricky Saxton versus Jason Salvo fight. This is their both pro debuts. As you've seen them come up in the amateur ranks, what do you expect out of them, and what do you expect out of the fight?
Two former Fight Lab champions. Man, we don't get this opportunity very many times to have two guys step in the cage that have both won our titles, both defended them. Jason Salvo, dude. If I had a nickel for every time I thought that he was out of it and had lost, I'd be a rich man. I really would. I've seen him in some positions that you're just like, my God, there's no way he's going to keep going. And not only does he keep going, but he's resilient and he's persistent and he's tough and he comes back and he scores the knockout. Yeah. Most times he comes back and he knocks the other guy
on the card
right back into oblivion where he was. The funny thing about it is, most people don't know this, he's a very accomplished wrestler. You know, he's known for his big right hand. He reminds you of a small Dan Henderson. You know, and he doesn't get tired. His ground game is solid. He's a very accomplished wrestler. He is dynamite in his right hand. If he hits you, especially if he feels threatened, you're going to have a problem. On the other side, Ricky Saxton, pretty Ricky Saxton. Kenny Letts did tell me he is a very good-looking man, said Ricky Saxton.
Out of Kenny Letts' mouth.
That came out of Kenny Letts' mouth.
He doesn't throw around those compliments.
He doesn't throw the compliments. He says about me often, but, you know, I am pretty good.
Does he have his glasses on when he says that?
When he says that to me? Yeah. No, he don't.
Okay, well.
That's irrelevant. He still said it. Pretty Ricky Saxton, former Fight Lab champion, beat Alex Fagler and took the belt from him. Beat Lawrence Dennis, defending it. And now he's made the jump to the pro ranks. Went down to the XFC, won their fighter tryout, and we're happy to have him on the card. His family, he's been an Army brat all of his life, and he's going to have a big crowd there. Salvo doesn't get intimidated. If there's one person that I know is going to be on this card and will not be intimidated by the no telling how many damn Army people show up, it will be Jason Salvo. He will not get intimidated. Saxton's going to have a crowd. Saxton's, again, he's one of the better athletes to step in our cage. I think he's going to have the advantage with quickness. He's an accomplished wrestler. I think that's going to nullify. I think he's going to have the edge in the technical striking. I think Salvo's going to make him back up with the power. At the end of the day, though, as much as I hate to do it, I'm going to put my money on Salvo. I've bet my money against Salvo so many times and lost. It has nothing to do with Ricky because I love Ricky to death. And I said when Ricky was champion, our guy can beat your guy any day of the week. And I still believe that. But when it comes to Jason Salvo, I've seen him walk in there as the underdog against Corey Von Eggety, against Cody Wells. He comes out of there, and the home team just looks so sad. So I'm gonna, for this pick, even though I don't want to, I'm gonna pick Salvo, and but I expect one hell of a fight, and I expect to see Ricky Saxton in the UFC one day. He's young and he's talented. He's surrounded by a great group of guys, but I just think at some point in time he's gonna let his guard down and he's gonna get hit by that big right hand, and it's gonna change the course of the fight.
The horse's mouth. What do you? I know we're taping this on the Monday, and hopefully by Tuesday or Wednesday we'll have this up. What's the status right now of the Nate Kaiser fight and I believe the James Quigg?
James Quigg. James Quigg was set to fight Cody Turbot. Cody tore his, I think he tore his ACL. I know they said he blew his knee out, which usually when a coach says that or an athlete says that, that means if they can't train and they can't walk, something bad has happened. Don't quote me on the ACL, but he did hurt his knee. He was forced to pull out. We're currently looking for someone. If there's anybody out there that's fighting 135 to 145 pounds that wants to get on a card this Saturday, James Quigg needs an opponent. He's a great fighter, tremendous competitor, and I know he would be very honored if somebody would step up and take the fight. I'm currently looking. I've got a couple options. We'll see. Nate Kaiser, the experiment, the former the former professional hockey enforcer, comes to Bang. My son calls him Bane off of Batman. So he needs an opponent. He was scheduled to fight our champion Durant McDonald. Durant McDonald suffered an injury to his hand. He's got to vacate the belt, and so Nate's gonna get his title fight. I have two options. I'm not gonna say their names because they may not come through. They're both very strong possibilities, and hopefully we'll get to see the experiment back in the Fight Lab cage. All three of his fights have been with us, and he comes from Charleston, and that's the type of thing that I'd like to think that makes it special, because people scramble to get on our cards unless it's short notice usually, and when you've got a guy, a caliber athlete, as a professional hockey player, and he lives all the way in Charleston, he can choose to fight with any number of other promotions, and he chose to make his home here with us, and that means a lot. So hopefully we'll have him booked this Saturday, June 28th, Fort Bragg, North Carolina, 82nd Airborne, fight for the troops. I'm going to be there.
Why are you wrapping it up?
I'm trying to get you the hell out of here before you ask me something I want to answer, but go ahead and ask me. It's about the rock star.
I could care less about him. The question I did have was, this sets up a long list, including the rock stars who's going to be fighting in July, but this sets up a long, just about every month for the rest of the year. You guys are going to have some big plans. You're going up to Asheville, I believe, in August. You're going back up, supposedly going back up on the top of the roof of the epicenter. You're going to have your work cut out for you. This Saturday, like you said, it kicks off a lot of stuff that's not just consistent and big for our promotion to have a fight every month, but also some of the stuff is new and some of the stuff is old. And to be able to go down to Fort Bragg, I've already hit on that. That means the world to us. It's going to be our first MMA fight at Fort Bragg, the first of many, hopefully. July 26th, we come back here to Charlotte for Fight Lab 38. And then on August 16th, we're going to go up to Cherokee, outside of Asheville, to the casino, and we're gonna put on some pro cards. We're gonna have Johnny Buck Nasty Buck as the headline. July 26th, we're gonna have the Rockstar versus Eric Calderon, and then August 16th, like I said, we're gonna go Buck Nasty. Johnny Buck's gonna take to the main event in front of his hometown crowd, and then we're gonna go back to where all my rowdiness really started, on top, 4 stories up of the epicenter. Why in the hell we're doing this, I have no idea. It's rowdy, it's hot, I don't know what it is. People get euphoric up there, and women want to take their clothes off. Don't throw them at me though, because I'm married. Guys want to get in fights, people want to drink beer, people want to get knocked the you-know-what out. It's going to be great. And then we're going to come back for 2 more shows. Back at the casino. We're going to do our year-end show here. We may go back to Bragg. We got so much stuff going on. And I got the Warfare cards that I'm matchmaking for down in Myrtle Beach. Way too much fun.
It's way too much fun. Way too much authority.
Oh, that's just in your hands. That's.
But I'm doing well with it. Yeah, 2 years ago I couldn't have done this.
No. Now you can wrap this up. Now I want to leave.
Now you want to leave?
Now I'm hungry. It's hot outside. I got to drive all the way down to Rock Hill. You're close.
I got to do practice. I got to do practice. I got to get Mike Williams ready.
And I've got to work on the Rockstar's hand for striking.
Yeah, and I got to work on Ricky Rainey's too.
All right.
June 28th, this Saturday, Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Doors open at 6:30. Fights start at 7:30. Be there. Get your tickets now. Get them from one of the fighters. I'll see you there. If Chaz isn't there, we'll see him July 26th, Charlotte, North Carolina. Thank you, guys. We love you.